So thank you very much for this film. I have to say, I feel a little bit, well, don't so well now. But thank you very much for all your work and this film. My first question would be again to tell us how it was possible to do this, how you came into these situations.
For quite a time, I wanted to make a film about the political processes going on in Hungary. Because living in Hungary in the last 10 years, I experienced a really strange process. People are getting more and more frustrated, more and more violent against each other and against certain groups. And it was quite obvious that this thing is provoked by politics, and politics of our extreme right-wing government. Because I believe, I don't know what is your opinion, but I really believe that what the Hungarian government and ministers of the Hungarian government do, it's a clear racist, anti-Semitic propaganda. And meanwhile, you have to know that in Hungary we don't have refugees, so it's a very homogeneous society. Sorry?
You have one from Macedonia.
Yeah, that's true. But it's a really homogeneous society. The economic situation in Hungary is really bad. There was just survey released a few days ago by one of the oldest survey company in Hungary that says 3 or 4 million people living under the poverty limit. So there is a huge poverty in Hungary. And I think our government invented this tool against the poverty of the people and against the disappointment. They believe that they created an enemy for the Hungarian people, so they will not bother so much about their poverty and about not having food and not having a future for their children, because they are so much afraid that it takes all the attention.
But how did you personally came up with the idea for this film and to do it like this? I mean, it's a very strong way to do it like this, very clear, very exact.
I don't live in Hungary for 6 years because I did a very controversial documentary. It was how many years ago? In 2008, 2009, it was 10 years ago. I made a very controversial documentary. I followed a trial of a neo-Nazi gang. And before the premiere of that film, the title was Judgment in Hungary, I moved out from Hungary because I didn't feel very safe there. But then I still went back every year, and I just realized that the hate what I experienced on the street, the hate what I experienced when I turned on TV or radio, and I heard the continuous propaganda 24 hours a day against refugees, against migrants, I realized that it must be somehow documented. Because I still believe that the Hungarian government has a kind of double face. They are not so openly racist and anti-Semitic when they speak in English when they are in the European Parliament. It's getting more and more clear, I think, for everybody, but they are much more racist and much more violent when they speak to the Hungarians in Hungarian.
Did you show the movie in Hungary at home, and where, and how was it?
We wanted to show the film in Hungary very much. Actually, that was one of my main motivation to do this film, to show it to the people and to have discussions. But it was not possible because we wanted to do the screening. It was last year when we wanted to make a premiere. We contacted dozens of cinemas, and any cinema wanted to rent a room for us to make the screening. I guess there is a general fear in the society that they didn't want to show the film. Finally, we found a very small cinema in the city center of Budapest, but nobody came to the screening, so it was quite awful. Yeah, and also because this film had the premiere on the biggest documentary film festival of Europe, maybe of the world, in Amsterdam. It had a huge premiere. It was in the press everywhere, but any article was published in Hungarian, not in the left-wing liberal, very small left-wing liberal press. I still don't understand how it was possible and why, but it was really strange.
So you found those DOPs who were sent into the...
Yes, it was like I was searching online for people doing wedding videos and things like that, and I was calling them, and I told them that I'm making a documentary about this political subject, and I need someone who can enter and make the documentation and send me the material online. And they only asked me not to tell their name to anyone. So I think there is a general fear in the society, which I can totally understand, that those people who live in Hungary, they are afraid of the regime.
How dangerous is it for you to do this kind of movies?
I live in Portugal for 6 years. There were some open, not threatening, but sometimes some ministers, politicians came to screenings to Berlin and other cities, and they tried to speak against my movies. But that was all, so nothing special.
How would you describe the film scene in Hungary? I mean, there are a lot of cinematographers trying to make movies, making movies, showing it also in saloons, at home, in living rooms, not in cinemas. Yeah, maybe you can make a little description of how film making is taking place nowadays in Hungary.
I really believe that there is a strong self-censorship now in Hungary. You don't see films about controversial political subjects at all. So people really controlling themselves. I believe that a big part of the Hungarian filmmakers don't agree with this racist nationalistic propaganda, but they just don't express themselves. They do films about other subjects. So you can't really find critical films about the Hungarian society of our days now in Hungary.
Because we heard about those living room where people try to set up resistance and show each other films from outside. Were they existing or?
Maybe it's
not
existing. I never heard about it.
Yeah, I didn't.
But what kind of films?
Yeah, I didn't find it in the internet, so I thought, okay, it's really Maulwurf. I don't know.
I have it from first hand. I was at a festival in next to Munich, and there were Hungarian filmmakers, and they talked about it, and it's happening. Yeah. Do you have questions? Maybe wollt ihr Fragen stellen? Ja, ganz hinten. Wir haben das Mikrofon. Kommt gleich zu dir. Dann können wir vielleicht auch gemeinsam diskutieren oder Fragen beantworten.
Hi, I don't know very much about Hungarian political scene, but I would like to ask you two questions. First, the movie led us think that the Democratic Coalition Party had hoped for winning this election, and then they gained like 9 MPs, so didn't have any more realistic polls before. And the second thing is, your movie kind of contrasts two ways of doing politics. And on one hand, we have this progressive, liberal, democratic, compassionate politician who would give chair to someone without leg or would give his own car away. And on the other, we have those Fidesz politicians who are xenophobic and strangely church obsessed. But, so why Hungarian people would give power to Fidesz one more time?
It's a very good question. And I just can't understand, actually, I have to tell you. And I think it must have some historical sources. In the Hungarian society, there is a huge tradition of anti-Semitic, racist propaganda since the end of the 19th century, when the first anti-Semitic party in Europe was formed in Hungary. So I think this anti-Semitic line has a deep tradition. And blaming other people, other groups for our problems, it's very typical in the Hungarian society. But I think in other countries also in Eastern Europe. So I think Fidesz realized that and they used this card. And that's why they managed to get success. They see that the Hungarian people are really poor, they are disappointed, and they need an enemy. But I think these sentiments are also very much present in Europe in general, also in Austria. So it's really, I think anti-Semitism and racism never has a rational explanation. So I would be also interested in your opinion that why is it strong also here in Austria, these sentiments?
Noch eine Wortmeldung aus dem Publikum? Ja, ganz rechts, bitte. I hope I will pronounce it right. Did you show the movie to Gyurcsány Ferenc?
Yes, of course, I showed it.
First, I want to say it's wonderful that you make a film about this thematic, but that you are talking about to influence the people, and that what I know what influences the people is not a film, is not an intellectual way to influence and inform the people. I think that those, especially in Hungary, Orban has the medias under control and the internet and so on. Therefore, I think it would be more worthwhile to get people by better ideas. One must work on the daily newspapers, on the internet, to influence the people, not to meet the intellectual persons, but to meet the mass. And that is what the people who have influence about the medias do. They do daily newspaper, they do in internet permanent work and try to influence the people. Yeah? And that's what I prefer. That's what, if one wants to change something in Hungary, they must try to get internet, they must try to get daily newspapers, they must try to get TV, because the people reflect on the way that they always permanent information, and that's what works to the under condition. My English. Aber what do you think about this? Because film is good, but some people look it, but that what influences is something different.
I totally agree. That is the biggest problem in Hungary, that nearly all medias, televisions, newspapers, radios are in the hand of the government. So there is no freedom of press at all. And even this very, very small, tiny left-wing liberal media, they really controlling themselves. They don't dare to say everything. So it's a really controlled media, what we have in Hungary. People don't get real information.
Danke, vielen Dank. Vielleicht können wir noch, maybe we can talk about Gyurcsány Ferenc and how he reacted to the movie. What is he doing nowadays? Are you still in touch with him?
He was very easygoing. I mean, when we filmed him, it was only 2 weeks, but from early morning until night every day. And he didn't care about us at all. So he
could you work with your DOPs? Like
yes, yeah. I worked with a professional cameraman and professional sound engineer. He was very flexible. On the following, because then we had the European Parliament elections in Hungary, and then they got a lot of vote, their party, and his wife, who is also in the movie, is representative of his party in the European Parliament now. And they have 4 members there in the European Parliament. So they gained a lot of power since then.
And are you still in touch with him, or was it just for the movie?
Sometimes I send him the link about, for example, about this festival that now it was premiered here, and I think he's following the echo of the festival. But it was a bit of problematic film for them because they are campaigning all the time, and it's difficult for them to see how weak they were. So it's difficult for them.
Is there a Hungarian resistance outside of Hungary?
There are some Hungarian people, filmmakers like me, and theater directors who emigrated from Hungary because of this awful political regime. And of course we try to create films, theater plays, people who are writing books. Yeah, you can call it as a kind of resistance. But maybe those people are even those people who stayed in Hungary and want to work against this corrupted dictatoristic regime, they are really, really brave and they need a lot of help.
Gibt es noch Fragen von euch oder Kommentare?
For example, there was a discussion, I was not there, but I read in your program that a young Hungarian man, Márton Gulyás, was here from Hungary, who is a political activist, and he is really very brave. I never met him in person, but I read a lot about his activity, and I really admire his work because he lives in Hungary, he faces all the terror of this regime. He was already in prison for some days, so he really works very hard.
Ich glaube, du hast gesagt, du würdest gerne noch was sagen, oder?
Ja, eigentlich schon. Sorry, I was just looking because I was trying to find out what the name of Gulyas's YouTube channel is as well, because I was thinking that sort of answers that gentleman's question partially, but I can't unfortunately remember the name of the channel. But he has a very well followed YouTube channel, which does fulfill some of the things you were talking about. In terms of the 2 questions that I have, the first question was these Fidesz politicians that we saw. Are they being cynical? Do they believe what they say? What's the sort of balance there? That's the first question. The second question is potentially partially critical. It's out of interest more than anything, but what was the target audience for the film that you had in mind? And also, was it problematic involving Jurchan in such a way that he was profiled a little like that? Does it strengthen or does it weaken and compromise the film? Was it a narrative choice with this contrast, or was he the person that was had the highest profile that wanted to be involved? What was the thinking behind it?
Okay, 4 questions in one.
Sorry.
Yeah. My first intention was to document the racist, xenophobic campaign of our government. But I really felt that if I wouldn't make comments on the film, just documenting it, I really need to show the contra part, to show the other side. And for this reason, I needed to find something from the left-wing liberal side. And I needed to find somebody who has a strong character, and for this reason I chose Ferenc Gyurcsány, because he has quite a strong character. And actually he is one of the most hated politicians by the Hungarian government, because he is a former prime minister, and there were always huge conflicts between him and Orbán. The other question was about
the cynicism of the
Yeah.
Fidesz, if they believe what they are saying.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really difficult to believe that they believe it. Yes, because they are well-educated people who are traveling a lot in Europe. I think they are more cynical. And I think they could change in any moment if they would believe that it would make their fortune. So I think they really believe that that's the only way how they can keep power forever. Or at least they are saying that at least 20-25 years they would like to stay in power. We have them already for more than 10 years. Yeah.
It's a very, very sad movie. We had always a lot of Hungarian friends in my family, and I always had the feeling they are super open-minded people, and this was always a very rich exchange. And now to see this movie, and when I'm in Budapest, I meet so lovely people, so open-minded people, and it's there's such a contrast to what you show in your movie. I just find no words for it. Yeah.
Also for me it's the same. I was in Hungary, I think 2009. There was an exhibition about Hungary and the Second World War, and they showed one of my political films, and I had the feeling that everyone is so motivated there to do something against it, and now it floats away, so I'm very sad now.
I can't say anything optimistic, sorry.
How do you feel these days when you go there?
I usually go there when I work. So when I work, I concentrate on my job and I don't feel anything. So I'm just focusing. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes when you do work of resistance, you have to keep the feelings aside.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
an
In this film,
situation.
at least, because my previous film before this one, it was about killing of Roma people. 6 Roma people, among them little children, were killed by neo-Nazis, and there was a trial which followed. And that movie was really hard emotionally for me also. So it was a 3 years process, and I documented all the days of the hearings, and I realized how politics provoked the hate in the perpetrators. It was very clear from the movie, and I saw the suffering of the mothers, wives, husbands who lost their beloved family members because of this hateful racist aggression. So that was more than awful. In this film, at this level where we are in this moment, it's more intellectual. But of course, it can also go on a very dangerous way.
And as the theme of this evening is also hope, what will be your next film?
I just finished my next film, which is about... It was also not a happy movie, because it's about a Hungarian musician, rock guitarist, who was the famous rock guitarist ever in Hungary, and he emigrated in 1974 to the US because he really hated the communist regime what we had, and he chose the open Western European society in the US. But then he was killed by Hungarians in 10 years in Los Angeles. So that was my next movie, and of course I'm searching for my next subject at this moment.
Does the next movie have a title? Do you have a title for it already?
For the one I mentioned?
The new one?
Yeah, it's already finished, the film. It's Tamás Barta. That's the name of the musician. And Harry, Your Mom is Waiting. Because the film, it's a very interesting story. It has very strong connection to my family. Because my mother is the right holder of this rock guitarist and songwriter. He has the rights of his songs. And there are 13 audio tapes on which this musician and his mother were corresponding for 8 years during his years in the US. The man in Los Angeles told her souls to his mother and recorded on an audio tape, sent it to Hungary. And in Hungary, his mother from the communist Hungary also recorded her answers and sent it back. So it's a very moving, emotional
and you have these
correspondence.
tapes?
Yes, the film is based on these tapes.
On these tapes?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's very moving, yeah.
When will you have your premiere?
I don't know yet, because with this film, you know, in Hungary we have the so-called Hungarian National Film Fund, which is the film fund of the Hungarian government. And finally, I realized that, great, now I have a non-political subject, so I can apply for funding. And I got the funding from the Hungarian National Film Fund. But now they have the right to decide about everything. So let's hope they will let me premiere the film, because until this moment I don't have any feedback. Yeah.
Wow, difficult situation.
I didn't
It's
know
also a
that
difficult situation to make this decision, because it was really hard for me to decide if I should apply or not with any project with a political cultural institution. But then I realized that this is not the money of the Hungarian government, this is the money of the Hungarian people. And if they give me the money to make a film, I will do it. I will not do any compromise on it. And I hope they will make a premiere.
Yeah, I wish you too that you can show it in Berlin or I don't know in a great festival.
Gibt es noch Stellungnahmen oder Fragen? Sonst würde ich hier gerne eine kleine Umfrage machen. Okay, I have to speak in German now because I think I can't do it in English, but I will tell you afterwards what I ask, okay? Mich würde jetzt persönlich interessieren, kontinuierlich zu dem, was da vorher gefragt wurde, ob man glaubt, dass die Politiker sich das selber glauben, per Hand heben. Wer glaubt, dass der Kickel, dass er sich das total selber glaubt, und wer glaubt, dass es nur zynisch ist, und das würde mich jetzt total interessieren. Also wer glaubt, dass der Kickel sich das selber glaubt? Und wer glaubt, dass es nur zynisch ist und total programmiert? Aha, interessant. Ich hätte es umgekehrt erwartet. Hofer soll ich auch fragen? Mirjam?
Noch eine Frage?
Ach so, soll ich nochmal fragen?
Nein, es ist nicht klar gewesen, wie die Umfrage ausgegangen ist. Von hier aus sieht man es gut.
Ach so, Entschuldigung. Es haben, würde ich sagen, 98% gesagt, dass der Kickel 95% gesagt, dass der Kickel sich das selber glaubt und dass es nicht nur zynisch ist. Ja. Genau, ich glaube.
Sollen wir es nochmal mit... Nein, du machst die Umfrage.
Okay, wer beim Hofer, glaube ich auch. Okay, wer glaubt, dass der Hofer, dass er sich das selber glaubt, also dass er selber glaubt, was er sagt? Ja, es ist umgekehrt. Und wer glaubt, dass es beim Hofer nur zynisch ist? Ich glaube gar nichts. Okay, das ist relativ ausgeglichen, würde ich sagen. Ja, ich habe die Frage vielleicht nicht richtig gestellt, aber ich glaube, ihr habt gewusst, was ich fragen möchte, eben, ob Sie das glauben oder ob das nur angelernt ist und Sie genau wissen.
Esther hat geglaubt, du hast gefragt, wer möchte ein Eis und wer nicht.
I'm really sorry that I don't speak German. I really need to
I had to
learn
translate it. Sorry.
No, but that's okay.
We will
For me, the
tell
most
you.
important that you have a conversation. It's more important than me to answer questions.
Yeah, we have elections tomorrow. You know, it's a big topic for
It's
us.
very exciting.
Esther, it was wonderful to have you here. Really great to talk with you. Thank you that you came.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much
Thanks
for your work.
movie.
Thank you.
Danke auch an euch. Vielen Dank. Das war Widerstandskino Nummer 1, 4. Saison. Es geht nächsten Monat weiter. Danke ans Humanities Film Festival. Einen schönen
Thank you.
Abend, schönen Samstagabend.